This week we're talking 3D printing, security snafus, and home automation. Alright, welcome to another episode of µNews. Before we get started with the top stories of the week, just want to give a shout out to everybody that is watching. Really appreciate it, guys. Specifically, I want to give a shout out to Glenn Block, who reached out to me this week, and also to Andy Swan for creating the 100 Connections projects. You guys are awesome. Alright, the first story of the week comes out of the Arduino camp, where they've up and decided we're going to build a 3D printer, which, as Mike Sinise from Make notes, will be the largest piece of hardware ever to come out of the Arduino camp. Now, this thing looks pretty dang sexy and is a collaboration with ShareBot out of Italy. They're looking at about $800 for a kit that you have to assemble and $1,000 for a pre-assembled version. This thing looks really cool. As you might imagine, it is powered by an Arduino. They're going to open source the firmware, so if you want to create one on your own, I'm sure you'll be able to do that. And congratulations to Arduino. Really nice work, and we wish them all the best. And with the good also comes the bad, and the bad this week is the HeatMiser. Now, the HeatMiser is a connected thermostat a la Nest, but without the learning, the lickable interface, and as it turns out, the security. This thing has some terrible security flaws, as pointed out by Hackaday, not the least of which is being susceptible to cross-site forgery attacks. The default username and password on this thing is admin. Now, if you're not smart enough to guess that, if you want to hack into it, if you can just connect to the web page that this thing serves up on the local network, you can just view the source of the page and read it in plain text. Pretty bad, right? It gets worse. If you use their iOS app and their custom communication protocol, you don't have to provide a username and password. You actually just have to use a 4-digit PIN. Now, there is no amount of times that you can try this PIN within a certain time frame like some sites will do for security. So if you've got the free time, you can just try all 10,000 or so possible combinations and hack right into this thing. Now, on the heels of things like Heartbleed and Shell Shock, this is just another reminder about how important security is on devices. Now, software people have been getting beat up for years over this, and so when we write software, we tend to at least think about security a little bit. But hardware is still so young, and with so many amateurs putting out actual products, it's no wonder that sometimes security takes a back seat. So let this be a good reminder to all of us. Let's take security more seriously, and don't be the next HeatMiser. All right, that's enough picking on HeatMiser, but seriously, guys, you got to fix this stuff. The next story that we're going to talk about comes out of Spark.io. Now, these guys are killing it lately. I mean, just killing it with their Spark cores and Spark Cloud. Now, if you don't know what a Spark core is, it is a tiny Internet of Things development platform that allows you to rapidly make connected devices. This guy right here is what it looks like. This thing can be out of the box and connected to the web in 10 minutes flat, and you're writing code for your project. Absolutely amazing. And they've gone ahead and made this even cooler this week by releasing SparkJS. Now, SparkJS is a library that allows you to code for the Spark cores in the Spark Cloud using JavaScript. It runs off of Node.js and is compatible with Windows, Linux, and Mac. And now, with everything that comes out of these guys, this thing has a level of polish that all platforms should aspire to. They've just really been killing it. Amazing stuff. If you don't have a Spark core, they are $39. I highly recommend it. These things are really just fun to play with. And like I said, they'll get your project going really quickly. So nice job, Spark team. And we look forward to what you guys are going to come up with next. Next up, we're going to talk about Edison for just a second. Now, we featured the Intel Edison a few weeks ago on the show, and I kind of took a shot at their projects for them. Now, the community on this is still very fresh. Currently, there's only one project on the Intel site, which I think they dropped the ball a little bit on that one. It would have been nice for them to at least have a few up there, and the one that is up there is a complicated-looking wearables project that I don't think speaks to a ton of the community, but they're trying. Well, in all fairness, we need to do a follow-up. It's been about 3 weeks since that episode came out. There are now a grand total of 6 projects on their site, which might make you think that it's not getting a lot of traction, but the social media story paints a much different picture. With the number of tweets this week for Intel Edison outnumbering both Spark Core and Tesla combined, there is still a lot of buzz about this, and people are really just now starting to get these through the mail. They've ordered them, they're just now starting to get out, including mine, came this week. Can't wait to bust this thing open and start playing with it. And I will let you guys know how this compares to the other platforms. I'll give you an honest opinion after I've played with it for a bit, but Intel Edison, not doing a lot on their site, but the community is really starting to form around this, and there's still quite a bit of buzz. So keep your eyes out for it, and if you haven't, go ahead and pick one up. These are a little bit more expensive. You have to have it on a dev board. The thing itself is tiny, but you're going to need it on some kind of development board, whether it's the Arduino or just the simple one that has the USB headers and a header pin on it. But that's going to run you more around $80 low end. So anyway, we will keep you posted on Intel Edison as it progresses. And that brings us to this week's top story, which is the Uber home automation article on Instructables. Now, this has no relation to the ride-sharing Uber. This is a project from Eric Tsai, and he makes it very clear right off the bat that this is not just another let's turn your lights on and off with your iPhone kind of project. He has put together a very comprehensive home automation project that has everything from gas and temperature sensors to even a sensor that can detect when his dog barks, when somebody opens the mailbox to deliver the mail each day. Really nice project. He has the whole thing hooked into OpenHab, so there's a nice interface that you can hook into from your phone or your desktop. It does combine Arduino and Raspberry Pi as well. Those serve as the base station that makes it connected to the internet and as a central hub for all of the sensors. One of the coolest things about this project is that he's really taken a very cheap approach. Not cheap as in quality, but low cost. He's used a little $4 transceiver, which looked really cool. I've already ordered a few to start playing with. These little transceivers help all of the sensors communicate with the base. It's really cool. If you're interested in home automation, you definitely need to check this project out. We will link it up below like we do everything else. And if nothing else, it will give you some pretty good ideas on how to attack the different sensing problems that you encounter when you're trying to build a home automation system. So really appreciate it, Eric. Thanks for sharing. And I don't have anything else to say about it. That's it. Cool project. Check it out. And speaking of automation, that brings us to another installment of Tweet of the Week. This week's tweet comes from Andrew Carter, who says, "I just updated software on a piece of hardware in a bathroom at work in Virginia. Spark.io is the future, y'all. I told you these guys were killing it." So I followed up with Andrew on this because I was a little curious, and what it turns out is there aren't enough bathrooms for them at work. And so what they did is they installed a few reed switches to detect when doors were open and closed, built an iOS app and a widget, a Mac app and an iOS widget, and solved the problem. Now they can get notifications when bathrooms are open. Now, as Andrew pointed out, this is where we're headed, guys. This stuff was ridiculously hard to do even just 5 years ago for an average user. And this, my friends, is why this space is so exciting right now. You don't have to wait for a big corporation to come along and solve your day-to-day problems like Andrew and his friends at work were having. You can just get in there, buy one of these platforms, got one right here. Get yourself a Spark, an Intel Edison, a Raspberry Pi, something to start hacking around, solve your own problems. This stuff, you couldn't update your hardware from remotely without having just a team of people working on this. There was a lot of code you had to write. It's so easy nowadays. And so I highly recommend you check into it. Really appreciate the tweet, Andrew. Love the app, by the way. And just, what can I say? This stuff is awesome. You guys should be doing it if you're not. That does it for this episode of µNews. Just again, I want to say I really appreciate people tuning in. I would really love to start interacting with more of you as you start to subscribe. We're picking up some subscribers. I'd really like to hear from you guys. So what I want to start doing is asking a µFavor each week. And the first one this week is super simple. All I want you to do, if you could, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I want you to go down to the comments and just leave a one-word comment. Doesn't have to make sense, doesn't even have to be a real word. Just, I'd like to know that you're out there and you're listening. So just stick a comment down there, single word, please keep it clean. And like I said, really appreciate you guys watching. Hope you'll tune in next week. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And I hope you guys have an awesome week. See you next week. Okay, everyone, no. All right, welcome to another episode of Micro News. This week we're talking, it's looking to be about $1,000 for an assembled kit and $800, this is not going well.
Please subscribe.